I'm going to be so real with you. Well, should I even talk to you? Oh, I can't. Where are you? Hi, my name is Savannah. I'm just a regular person that loves to knit and crochet. And if you love fiber arts too, feel free to subscribe and stick around. Let's get into it. This is podcast number 3. It has been 2 weeks, unfortunately, which I'm learning that's not a good idea to wait 2 weeks in between recording. Last week was my child's spring break. So there just was like never a good time to lock myself in my craft room and record a knitting podcast. So I just let it go. And now I have a lot of things to talk about. So let's get into it. First of all, my daughter's cardigan that I was in the middle of steeking last podcast 2 weeks ago, it's done. It's been done. I don't have it because she wore it to school today. So let me just say I was right when I thought that it would get more wear as a cardigan than as a sweater. I was right because she wears that thing all the time. Okay, yeah, so I have a picture. I'll insert a picture. It's been done. I forgot about it because it's been done. She's been using it. She's been wearing it. It's been lovely. So if you don't know the lore, sorry, I knit there's like a garbage truck outside that's making quite a clatter. So if you can hear it, I'm sorry. Anyways, for Christmas, I knit my daughter a step-by-step sweater by Florence Miller in Karen Chunky Cake yarn in the colorway Sweet and Sour. It's crazy how you remember things. And I knit it on 8mm needles. That's crazy, actually. I'm shocked that I could remember all that info. And it just wasn't getting a lot of use. The collar on it especially was just a little too high, like it was too tall of a collar, and she didn't really like that. And the fabric itself was a little bit stiff. Like I would probably not knit a garment out of chunky yarn again. It's my one and only time doing that, but it's just really not the vibe. And so because it was a bit of a stiffer fabric, I thought it would serve better as like a cardigan / like kind of jacket kind of a vibe where you can get away with it being a little bit stiffer. Yeah, so I steeked it. That yarn is 100% acrylic. Yeah, I don't care about that. You think I care about that? No. Turns out, just do it. You know what I mean? I looked up a YouTube video about steeking. Norman Nimble Needles is his YouTube channel name. I'll link it again because I'm talking about it. But incredible resource, his whole channel. And yeah, just sew it. Just follow the video. Sew it and steek it, babes. It was great. I do think next time I steek something, first of all, thinner yarn. There's multiple reasons why I don't want to make a garment in chunky yarn like that again. Because when you steek something, you really want to be able to enclose your cut stitches in a double folded button band, and using the chunky yarn, it was just too thick if I had tried to fold it over on itself for a button band, especially then when you close the button band, now you have 4 layers. It was just too much. There's no way I could have done that. So what I did end up doing was knitting a skinny strip of fabric about 2 inches wide, and then as long as I needed it to be. I forget what it is exactly now, but just the length of the cardigan, and about 2 inches wide, just in some worsted acrylic, some skinny little worsted acrylic. And then I sewed that down over the cut stitches to enclose them so that they wouldn't unravel and be annoying and blah, 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 for a cleaner look. And it worked. It was really annoying. It was annoying to have to do it, but it did work. And you saw an example of that in my last video, because I don't have the garment here to show you. It's currently in public school. Okay. I will say, oh my God, see, we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. And that's gonna be this bad boy right here. Yeah, my first finished object garment for me. Really excited. This sweater originally was a crochet sweater. It's made with worsted acrylic stash yarn. So about 2 years ago, I crocheted this sweater with this yarn, holding the yarn double, so it gave it a really cool marled effect. But either I didn't use a big enough hook, or I just don't really love crochet fabric for garments because I didn't like it. No, it was too stiff, and it's like thick and also too holey, and I just didn't like it. So it was unwearable. Okay. So I frogged the crochet sweater with the intention of using that same yarn to knit a sweater. This is the Step-by-Step Sweater by Florence Miller again, because I'm a new knitter and I want to go on this journey of trying all these different sweater constructions. So raglan was first on the list. Since I made it for my daughter before, I was like, let me see how I like a raglan. I don't mind a raglan. I think it's fine. But what I'm really keen to try is a drop shoulder sweater, because that's my favorite store-bought kind of sweater to wear. Like a oversized 80s, 90s drop shoulder kind of a vibe. That's my favorite kind of sweater to wear, to buy from the store. So that's next on my list of things to knit for myself, is a drop shoulder sweater. Anyways, so I knit this as a raglan, and I finished it, I don't know, less than a week ago. I finished this, today's tax day, do your taxes, or it'll be too late actually by the time you see this, so Godspeed. And my birthday was a couple days ago. I'm 31. Ooh, ooh. So I wanted this finished in time for my birthday, which I did do. I did get it done. So this is kind of sort of, instead of doing like a birthday cast on, which a lot of people do, I just was able to wear a garment on my birthday, which I was very pleased. I actually wore quite a few knitted things on my birthday, which I love. So anyways, sweater. I need to actually talk about the details of this. So when I frogged the crochet sweater, because as you know, crochet takes, or not, I don't know what you know, I'm so sorry. If you don't know, crochet takes more yarn than knitting does to make the same size garment or whatever. And this was a fun opportunity to put this to the test, because when I frogged the crochet sweater, I had 1,200 grams of worsted weight acrylic yarn. And then when I weighed the yarn I had left, I found out how much yarn this sweater took. This sweater took 584 grams. That's insane. So it took less than half of my total available yarn to knit this sweater. Now, one of the reasons for that is that I held the yarn double in the crochet one, and I didn't like that fabric in this one. It just was too thick. Like, we're already working with worsted weight acrylic yarn. I don't need to hold it double. So that's why it looks so much different. Plus, you know, have you ever seen when people get those like scrap balls and they magic knot different yarns together and it just turns into this big? That was kind of the vibe, because when I was crocheting it, I was just adding new, magic knotting new yarn when I ran out of a yarn, or when I felt like it was time to change. So then caking it up, frogging and caking it, I didn't, and then only holding it single, it took away my previous ability to like choose what yarn came next, obviously, because they were already tied together. It was interesting. So anyways, I tried to make it vibe as best as I could. The cuffs are all solid colors. This one's like a green, yellow, blue, and then the bottom cuff is red. I mean, there's not much left to show you. So anyways, and I kept that the same from the crochet sweater to this sweater. This is like bracelet length. And also I haven't blocked this yet, like steamed it. I haven't steamed it. It just sounds like a pain in the ass to get my steamer out. And I finished it right before I was going on a cabin trip. So I didn't want to wait for it to dry or whatever. I just haven't done it. So I am expecting maybe it to grow, the sleeve length to grow a smidge. And also I would love if this collar could relax just a little bit. I can get it over my head just fine. I just don't love that it's like 360 touching my neck. I wish it was a little bit off the neck in the front, but I think steaming it will just kind of relax everything. I don't know. This was an exercise in letting go, let me tell you that much, because I really tried hard not to play God with like cutting the yarn and switching to a different yarn. And I just picked up a ball that, because I had so many cakes of this color changing, you know, yarn. I really just tried to pick up a ball and knit it through. The only time, which is shockingly what resulted in this interesting blue stripe, which I don't like it, but it's fine overall. It kind of gets like, you know, disguised a little. I don't know. It's fine. It's just I wouldn't have picked it is the point. The only time that I really took control of the color situation was when it came to the sleeves. After I separated for the body, finished the body, picked up the sleeves, because it's such a smaller circumference than the body. I didn't want huge blocks of color. So I did use 2 yarns and I striped them. I don't remember the name of that cardigan, but you do. Kind of like the Olga, maybe, how it has those little stripes. Or like the Loopy Studios, whatever. You get it. Anyways, and I really like how that turned out, because even though it is the same 2 colors striping for a while, I think it looks better in these. They're actually 3-row stripes. Sorry. They're 3-row stripes. I think it looks better striped like this than if it had just been dark green stripe, light green stripe. Because everything else is small stripes, I think it just like works with the overall vibe of the sweater. This sleeve is a little bit more color changing, which I like. And I do really like actually how we get 1 row of blue before it changes. So anyways, unfortunately I should have labeled my yarn, because when I crocheted and frogged this, it was it was crocheted completely flat. So there was like a front and then a shoulder, and then you have to add yarn and do a shoulder, and then you crochet like a chain and you crochet the whole back, and then you crochet 2 sleeves flat and you seam them, and then you like fold it in half and seam along the underarms. So if I remember when I crocheted, I was trying to keep the stripes similar thicknesses, or the color changing sections similar thicknesses. So that means that the sleeves, the amount of yarn for each color is less, and the shoulders. If I'm trying to make it look like the same amount of yarn, then I have to use less yarn on the sleeves than I do on the body to keep the same kind of proportions of the color changing. I wish I had labeled which one I used for what before I started knitting this sweater, because once it's all caked up, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell which one was for which. Yeah, like I definitely used a sleeve up here. That's why all these are teeny tiny. I didn't mean to. I think this one is a body, and that's why this goes on for so long. This one is probably a sleeve because it all changes so much faster. I don't know. I wish I had kept track of that a little bit better, but I do really like this sweater. It is oversized. What else can I, like real information? Okay, so I knit it with a 5mm needle. So sorry. That's a nice thing about using stash yarn for your first couple sweaters or whatever for garments, is that it's really low stress. I didn't spend any money like recently to buy this yarn, obviously. Like, how did I get it in the first place? But that's past me, you know. She doesn't keep track of those things. So I didn't spend any money to knit this sweater. So if it turns out not perfect, that's okay. These are my like trial and error sweaters. Sweater collection. New sweater collection just dropped. Trial and error. Anyway, so that's this. I really like it. And it's nice to have a finished garment of something that I knit. And after this, I don't have any garments. Okay, let's move on. Yeah. Hi. Okay. Also for my birthday, I had talked about wanting to have sailor slippers for the cabin trip because me, my husband, and our 2 friends went on a cabin trip together, and I have made all of them sailor slippers before, and I wanted sailor slippers so that we could all wear our slippers at the cabin trip. That was important to me. So anyways, I did. And I felted them. Like, these were felting the day that we left for the cabin trip. I was like, that's the most on top of laundry I've ever been, is re-putting these in the dryer and wetting them and putting them back in the dryer and just cooking the shit out of them because I wanted them to be dry. And they were mostly dry by the time we got to the cabin. And luckily they had a wood burning stove at the cabin. And so I just set these on the stove so that they would dry all the way, because the part of these that takes the longest to dry is the seam on the inside of them. There's a seam where you sew it together all the way, and it's like just a fat little seam. It's not uncomfortable when you wear it, but it just takes the longest to dry because it's such a compact little fabric. Anyways, there's like wood chips on top. So these were also stash busting for me because I've made so many other people's sailor slippers. And so I just made mine out of the yarn I had left. This is Lion Brand Wool Ease Roving. They don't sell it at Michael's anymore. Every time I go to Michael's, it's not there. So I don't know where you can buy this from now, but it was like 10 bucks a skein, and there's so much in it, and I really like this. So if I ever need to make sailor slippers again, I look like that little deer. If I ever need to make sailor slippers again, I'll have to do some more research into that because I really like this yarn. Very affordable, works wonderfully for sailor slippers. So this is just stash. Obviously they like coordinate, but they don't match by any means. But I really like them. They're so comfortable and love them. I'm a big sailor slipper fan. Oh, Yarn Held Double 8mm needles. And I wear a size 9 in women's. So that's the size I knit. These are so stinking cute. I'm going to put them on. And the bottom of them is, I mean, it's all stash, but I never care what the bottom of sailor slippers look like because it's the bottom. You walk on it. Like, I really don't think that matters. So that's what the bottom of mine looks like. And that's what they look like. They're so cute. What's next? I started this series on my channel about rolling for stash. I'm not good at naming things. I'm gonna be so honest. But anyways, there's 4 things I have to roll for. And then that determines how I'm going to use up my stash yarn. Okay, I need coffee. Do I? My other 2 finished objects. See, this is taking too long. I gotta hurry up. My other 2 finished objects are from a series I started on my YouTube channel where I am playing stash roulette of sorts. I'm not great at naming things, but that's the vibe. To try to use up some of this yarn behind me. And there's 4 things I roll for. How do I say this? I'm bad at describing things, but anyways, I roll for the craft, knitting or crochet. I roll for the shelf, which is also the color, and then the yarn weight that I'm going to use on that shelf, and then the finished object type. So garment, amigurumi, tapestry, etc. And to give you the long and short of it, I rolled orange. And so this is Howard. Howard, the little orange. I think he's technically a carp, but I call him a goldfish. I love him. This was a free pattern. Oh, see, this is the planning I didn't do before this. I will look it up because I didn't plan this out. But this is a free carp pattern. I found it on Ravelry. It's DK stash yarn. I don't know if I wrote anything down, deadass. I mean, he's just so cute. And it actually wasn't bad. Oh, technically it's 2 orange colors. I don't know how well. Yeah, you can see his spots. And his little fins are different colors than his body and his tail and his dorsal fin or whatever. Oh, so cute. So yeah, orange knit amigurumi was the stash roulette I rolled for. And he's so cute and he lives on my orange shelf now. That's Howard. Okay. And then for Easter, I knit my daughter this bunny. Also a free pattern. I found this free pattern when I was looking for a free pattern for Howard. And I just thought it was the sweetest thing ever. And it was Easter, and so I made it for my daughter, and her favorite color is purple. It would have been sick if I had actually rolled to knit a purple amigurumi or white, and then it could have counted for my roll for stash. But I didn't, I just made this for my daughter. Really easy, actually. The feet are weird. The feet are weird. Technically, there's no legs. And I wanted to make more arms and put them on his legs because I seamed this. This is the option in the pattern, is like, you can just sew a line for legs, which translates. I just think it would have been cuter to have like really long arms as legs. But she didn't want that, so yeah. This is just stash yarn. I don't remember what needle size I used. I'm gonna guess either 4 or 5. I'm so sorry. Free pattern. I'll give you the info. I'll link it. I'll link both of these patterns. But I'm a sucker for amigurumi. Sorry, it's like what I started with when I was first started crocheting. Making little stuffed animals for my daughter, and this is so cute. So there's that. Adorable little sleeping bunny. Next, continuing the stash roulette thing, next I rolled for red, and I had to crochet it. And I'm just kind of not in the mood to crochet right now. I have a big crochet blanket. Sorry, there's a cat hair floating in the wind. I have a crochet blanket I'm working on, which is like really scratching the itch for me, and I just am not in the mood to crochet because I'm already crocheting the biggest blanket of my life. Not biggest, just most complicated, most intensive. Anyways, so I made this. This is part of a Christmas ornament series, I guess. I bought this crochet pattern booklet called The 12 Days of Christmas by Jennifer Percival years ago, okay? Oh my god, like actually like 5 years ago, which is crazy. With the intention of making one of each of these, you know, it's the little song, First Day of Christmas, my partridge and 2 turtle doves and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you can turn all of those things into Christmas ornaments. So that was my intention, obviously, was to make them so I could have all 12 on my Christmas tree. Well, I never did that. So far, I've made 4, and then when I rolled for red, I was like, okay, let me make the next one, 5 golden rings. So this is a golden ring. And the red counts. So, yeah, I mean, is it the reddest thing I could have made with doing this challenge? No. Did it use up 3 grams of yarn? Yeah, it did. So I'm counting it. Okay, let's move on to whips. So sorry, I can't imagine how long this is taking. So this is my 3rd pair of socks I've ever made, technically. Oh, I'm sorry, we're pausing. These are the first pair of socks I ever made. All right, well, first of all, This was a free pattern on Ravelry. This was before I bought the sock project book by Summer Lee. I bought that book because I tried to follow a free pattern about socks on Ravelry. Sorry, I wore them at the cabin, so. Anyways, if you'll notice, they are drastically, oh, I don't know if you can see. They're not the same size. Like, it's hard to see because of the yarn. But this one is so much smaller and like shorter. I don't know what I did. I like really don't know what I did. But I have been wearing them. Just like the one that's too small, I've just been like shoving my foot in it. I can't do that anymore. I don't know. The cabin really did it for me that I don't like wearing it. Yeah, I don't know. The first one I made is great. It fits my foot. It looks good. This one does not look good. And obviously something is wrong. Like my stitch count is off on the whole vibe. And it's not long enough at all. Anyways, I thought I could live with it. I can't live with it. I have to frog this up to before because they're knit cuff down. And then I think it's a heel flap and gusset. I have a little bit of yarn left over, which should have been my first sign that I was doing something wrong because the amount I had left over wasn't the amount that I thought I was going to have left over because I didn't use as much. Anyways, I have to frog the whole foot before the heel and try again because it's unwearable and I can't rock with that because I love this yarn. It's very cute. These are so different. The second sock is so bad. I might frog the whole second sock. I'm not going to lie because even the cuffs are different. The cuff is not as like sucked in. Like this cuff is cinched in as a cuff should be. This cuff is like, this sock is just wrong. There's something wrong with the sock. So I might frog the whole thing. I don't know, but I need to fix these socks. And now that I have the Summer Lee pattern book, I need to fix the sock. So that's on the docket eventually, is to fix that bad sock because I want to wear those and they're just not wearable. One is wonderfully wearable. Anyways, okay. And then my second pair of socks turned out too big. And so these are my third pair of socks and they're for my husband and I'm using Patton's Croy socks in clover colors, which is a really interesting like color changing yarn. And then in my contrast color, am I going to remember this? See, what's the point of having why do I take notes on 100 different pages and then it's not where I want it to be? Oh yeah, I never wrote it down. Okay, and the other one is like Cascade painted yarn. I'll look it up in the colorway. Autumn or something, tortoise, I forget. Whatever. I'm really good at this, you guys. I'm nailing this whole thing. This is the sock. I have almost finished one sock. I'm doing the afterthought heel. Yeah, so this is the toe and the cuff. And this is 150-gram skein of Patton's Croy socks. So I started with the cuff. This is 72 stitches around. These are for my husband. Started with the cuff, did 1 by 1 rib for like 12 or 15 rows, whatever. Knit the whole skein, then did the contrast toe. Marked, I had him try it on. I put a stitch marker at the corner of his heel. And now this time I'm going to move it this toe distance, because that's what the heel will be, closer to the toe. I didn't do that last time because I didn't think about how this will add length to the foot once I put that heel in. So I need to move it the length of the toe. Does this make sense? Anyways, that's why they turned out too big last time. But this time I'm learning. So this is where his heel is. So I need to, there's another one. Yeah, this is the back of his heel. So to compensate for this length, I need to move it this much in and cut it there. And then when I add the heel, it'll end up here. Anyways, you know, one tube done. Now I'm working on the other tube, and then I'll put both heels in so that I can make sure that they're kind of matched up in the same spot. And this is my progress on the other sock. This is a great thing to just bring with me. This I did mostly on Easter. I probably was like here, and then we went out on Fox Island all day on Easter, and I just like burned through this thing because I had nothing else to do. It was fantastic. It looks comically ginormous, but you put it on like a man's foot and it actually like looks very decent. So that's what I'm aiming for, is just decent socks. So this is how far I've gotten on the second sock. I'm not sure when these will be done. You know, who knows, but it's just my goal to always have a sock on the needles, which is nice to have because sock needles, like sock size knitting needles, all of mine are US 2. I have DPNs and I have 9-inch circulars. They're all US 2. I don't use those for anything other than socks. So there's no like conflict of interest having a sock on the needles at all times. I guess there would be if I wanted to knit a second pair of socks, but I'm really not trying to do that because I don't want to have 50 million half-finished pairs of socks. So anyways, that's the thing with knitting that I've been discovering, is that it's not like crochet where you can just take the hook out and work on something else and then put the hook back in. It just takes a lot more effort to switch your knitting needles between projects. So part of knitting is like kind of planning out where your needles are going to be and what you can cast on, what you have to finish first if you're using the size needle you need, blah, blah, blah. So remember her? Yeah, this is Cascade 220 in the color. Man, colors are tough. Colors are tough, you guys. Iridescent or something? I probably didn't write this down. What's wrong with me? I said it in my last podcast. I'll look it up. And I'll write it down. Shocker. Okay, so whatever color this is. I bought this from my local yarn shop with the intention of making myself a beanie because I follow the Mutse beanie pattern, which is a free pattern on Ravelry from Nimble Needles. It just takes you to their blog post. Fantastic. My vanilla hat pattern now is casting on 144 stitches with Cascade 220 on a US 6. Is it 4? Yeah, 4mm needles. Cast on 144, knit one, purl one until you have about 8 grams of yarn left. Do the decreases. Bob's your uncle. That's my vanilla beanie pattern now. This is my 4th one that I've made because it just works. I'm really susceptible to headaches. I had a migraine yesterday. Love that for me. So commercial, like store-bought beanies are too tight and they give me headaches. And my husband has a big head, so he can't wear them either. And so this really works for us. So I wanted one for myself. I made a beanie for my husband and my brother and then my old coworker. And I bought this to make one for me. And I finally cast it on. This is another great mindless knitting project because it's just knit one, purl one, like forever. You don't have to think about it. So this has been really nice. This yarn is so gorge. Like, oh, it's so beautiful. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, let me put a progress keeper. I don't know how well you can see this, but this is a little mushroom. Ever heard of Shrinky Dinks? I made my own little stitch markers out of Shrinky Dinks with my daughter. So you get a 1-inch circle punch and you punch these 1-inch circles out of Shrinky Dink paper. Then you use a regular hole punch and then punch a hole kind of like a keychain, you know, so that you can slip a little light bulb stitch marker through it after you Shrinky Dink it. And then just doodle on it. You can do colored pencil, you can do Sharpie, doodle, whatever you want. on your little stitch marker and then shrink it up. And that's how I've made my own progress keepers. I've also used them as beginning of round markers. And the little charms just slide off. So if you needed it to be a regular stitch marker again, you totally could. All right, now let's save this progress. Very cute. See? Adorable. Anyways, so I'm working on that. What else is there? Oh, this quilt blanket. Okay, last thing. Thank you for being patient. This is the crochet blanket that I was telling you about. See how it's like actually not that big? Oh man. I've been working on this for over a year and it's just taking forever because I designed these little quilt block motif granny squares. It takes 13 granny squares sewn together to make one quilt motif, one quilt star block. And then you have to like, yeah, seam it together. So it just takes a really long time. This one is solid. And then the half triangle ones are just like half triangle. I actually don't have the storage on my phone to keep talking about this blanket, but if you would like to, oh my God, the amount of expletive that I had to do in order to like clear up memory on my phone to finish recording this podcast episode. Nearly crashed out, but I didn't. But we're good. We're back. I'm going to finish this because don't cut me off. I've got stuff to talk about. Okay. Here's where we left off. On this beautiful crochet granny square quilt star blanket. I nearly got it out in like one normal sentence. It's just too long. I can't. Anyways. Okay, so I kind of don't remember where I left off, so I'm just going to go for it. Each quilt block is 13 squares. 12 of these mini ones, and then one big one in the middle. Anyways, this blanket, gorgeous. Huge pain in the ass. Hate it. I mean, love the way it looks, but hate making it. It's just taken so long to make. Okay, and as you can see, I'm using 3 different colors. It's all basically acrylic. So do I have any yarn labels at all? Yeah, I do actually, period. Oh, I double do. Okay. Okay, so basically we have 3 colors. Here's one. Yarn Bee Simply Flawless in the color Olive. I've used the most of this color, probably. Actually, I don't know, actually. Maybe it's equal between that and the white one. The cream color is I Love This Yarn acrylic in the color Ivory. Gorge. The last one is a wild card because I wanted this blanket to be pink and green, but I thought like just solid pink and green would be like hard to tie together. So instead, this is like my contrast color. She's Gorgiana. Yarn Bee Chromatic Spectrum in the colorway Aztec. 100% acrylic still, but like it behaves and feels different. It's like a, yeah, so it's 2-plied. This might not be the right verbiage, but one is a solid light pink and the other one is color changing. But I love this yarn. Ew, not the name of the other yarn. I have the most of this left over, which is actually kind of exciting because then I can use it for something else. Originally, this blanket project was supposed to be like a tapestry crochet quilt star motif blanket from this crochet Afghan pattern book that I own. But like, I wasn't loving that. Mainly as you work it up, it alternates, you know, pink star, green, pink, green, but you're working it this way. And with, I think if it had been all solid color yarns, it would have worked. But because of the color changing yarn, I had to like carry 3 strands, basically green, white, pink, on each row. And then the color was changing. I wanted the gradient of the pink to move within each quilt star, not like, it just was moving too fast and it was looking not right. And I even tried to like cake up the color changing yarn into like 6 different little balls, and it just was not working. It just wasn't working. This was like 2 years ago that I did that, started that. So I don't totally remember all the reasons, but maybe it was also too thick, or maybe it was just not turning out. Also, the chart was so difficult to follow. And I love a chart, don't get me wrong, but it was tough and it was taking forever. And I mean, a tapestry single crochet blanket, that's crazy. Anyways, so that's why I pivoted to the granny square style. It's gorgeous. I love the way that it looks. It just takes a while, so I probably wouldn't do it as a blanket again. I'm tired of holding up the blanket, so I'll just hold up this lovely lady, which is my extra square because obviously I fucked it up when I sewed it together, which stinks. But this is what each square looked like, if it was right, before I sewed all, there's like, I don't even know, 35, 24, I don't know. There's a lot of them. I made a bunch of these. So obviously online you can find a solid granny square tutorial and a diamond granny square, like 2 color diamond granny square tutorial. That's these ones. This one just accidentally got flipped. I could go back and fix it, and I might, because this is my 1 token from this blanket that's a gift. Anyways, so those ones you can find tutorials online. The one that I couldn't find was this one in the center, because this center square has 3 colors. I could find it if I didn't care about this little pink dot in the middle. At the time I did care. Now I don't think I do. I don't know. Anyways, so that's why I had to kind of come up with my own so that I could get this square in the middle. Yeah, I'll link some of the resources that I used in the description with some really good techniques for the granny squares and for seaming as well. But I do think I would use this exact granny square quilt block to make pot holders. I think that would be really cute and much more manageable. Obviously this is acrylic, so I would have to remake it in cotton yarn instead of this. But I still think it would be so cute with like a white or a cream cotton, and then they, you know, either a solid, fun solid color or a color changing yarn again. I think that would be so cute and very usable, very functional in my home. So I'll probably do that. If you want me to record a tutorial to just really compile all of the information sources that I used, I would still link them in the tutorial because it's not like I invented anything. The tutorial would probably honestly be more for me so that when I feel like making one of these again, I won't have to go to all my separate sources to try to figure out what I did again. I'm actually glad that I have this so that I can read my work, even though I sewed one on incorrectly, but so that I can still read my work and figure out exactly what I did. Anyways, if you want that video too, let me know. If not, no worries. I'll still put my resources that I used to create this so that at the very least you can hopefully put it together yourself. Okay. I think that was it. That's all of my current whips, except for the poncho, which is downstairs, which I haven't touched at all, which I don't feel like, you know, it feels dishonest to say like, that's it, when I do have a whip downstairs. But there's just not much to say, and I'm not going to show it to you until I actually work on it, and then I'll bring it up here and like tell you all about it. However, I do have 2 fun acquisitions that I would love to share with you. So let me get those out. And then that will wrap up this probably very long knitting podcast, and I'm sorry about that. It's just 2 things, you're going to want to see it. Recently, my brother went to Guatemala on vacation and brought me back a little gift, and that's very sweet. Here is my gift from Guatemala from my brother. This is so heavy. And I'm going to mess this description up, but I believe this is hand spun by Mayan women. I was only half listening when he told me. I'm so sorry. But I think, anyways, basically indigenous women in Guatemala hand spun this yarn, which is so cool. Can you see that? I don't know. Obviously it's multicolored, but that's because there's yellow, maroon, and red strands of basically thread held together. It's not really plied together. It like loosely is. It looks like each thread is 2-ply, and then there's 3 strands of thread held together and then wound up into this ball. And this weighs, oh my God, 267 grams of lace weight yarn. So obviously there's no label. There's a price tag on the other one. Let me actually try to figure this out really quick. 267 grams lace weight. Blah, blah, blah. This isn't totally what I wanted. Oh, that's not going to be right. I'm going to have to figure this out another time, actually. I'm hoping to do a little bit of research, how much yardage or meterage I think is in this. That's what I have to estimate in order to knit it up. So I have the weight. The weight is the easy part. I can do wraps per inch to try to figure out something. Listen, I know these bitches are doing it. I know they're capable. Okay, I know it's possible to figure out how much yarn this is. So I need to scope around. If you have any tips, there's something, there's something here. I think I could find something. Maybe I do wraps per inch to get the official yarn weight, you know, guesstimation. And then compare that to a label of a yarn there's some type of like, you know, conversion here that I'm missing, where like maybe in a similar weight yarn, because mostly lace weight yarn I'm finding online right now is mohair. This is not mohair. So maybe I'll find something similar online and get the grams per meterage of that, and then plug in my grams per X, and then hopefully try to guesstimate how much this is in meters or yards or whatever. Because this is a plant fiber. My brother's not sure if it's silk or bamboo or cotton. He doesn't know. He thinks it's some type of plant fiber. It really doesn't matter that much to me because it's just like threads. But I think it would be great for like a summer garment. So that is my plan, is to try to figure out how much yarn I think this is and then find an appropriate pattern. I have 2 balls. This is the bigger one, red, maroon, yellow. And this is the other one. And it is so precious. So precious. This one is pinks. So it's like a magenta pink, a lighter pink, and a red held together. This one is softer and it has a little bit of a halo. This one really doesn't have a halo. So anyways, that's the 2. The price tag is on this one, but it just says 100. But I think they were about like 10 to 15 US dollars each, if I remember correctly. Anyways, so this one is denser and bigger for sure. I don't know if you can see, this one has more of a halo. So I don't know if they're exactly made out of the same materials or what, but they're both going to be turned into summer tops of some kind, even though that's going to be horrendous to knit. Let's just be for real. So probably something lacy, maybe a bralette actually. I don't know. Okay, this one is 184. This one is 267. Anyways, just so fun and so sweet that, you know, he went on vacation and this is the souvenir that he got me. This is perfect. I mean, sometimes he really nails it with the gifts, let me just say. All right, thank you for bearing with and for listening to me yap on and on and on about all my little projects. 2 weeks is far too long between doing podcast episodes. I just can't do that. I have too much to talk about. And this is going to be a nightmare to edit, but that's totally fine. I have to edit last week's too. I just fell behind. I'm slacking. We got to pick it up. Anyways, girl, forget about that. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you're having fun. I hope you're getting to create and craft. If you have any tips for how to guesstimate yardage of yarn based off of weight of yarn, let me know in the comments. I would love. Thank you so much for watching and listening to me yap. It's been so much fun. I'll see you next time.